I'm Brandon Amoroso, and this is the D2Z podcast, building and growing your business from a Gen Z perspective. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into D2Z, a podcast about using the Gen Z mindset to grow your business. I'm Gen Z entrepreneur Brandon Amoroso, founder and president of Retention as a Service Agency, Electric. And today I'm talking with Mike Sill, co-founder and CEO of Sunday Scaries, and actually right down the road for me in Miami. So thanks for coming on.
Brandon, thanks for having me, man. Really stoked about this.
So before we jump into the thousands of different questions and topics I have for us today, can you give everybody just a quick background on yourself?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Mike Sill. Like Brandon said, CEO and co-founder of Sunday Scaries. Sunday Scaries is a cannabis company, so we sell CBD and THC products, gummies and oils, and we gear it towards stress relief and sleep aid. SundayScaries.com, and then you can find us on Instagram, Sunday Scaries, just like it's spelled.
How did you get your start, into entrepreneurship? I know this isn't your first venture, but how did you get the itch? Was it something that you've always had, or was it did it come out of the blue? Like, what did that process look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it sprouted probably because of my resistance towards authority and me not really wanting to be in an employee role, or just have my life be defined by some sort of structure. Be here at 8 o'clock, leave here at 5, dress a certain way. So I think that's probably how it originally started. But yeah, I got into it actually with a photography business called Arlene Collective. I used to work in nightlife. So I was a bartender, bar manager, and actually did everything under the sun with regards to positions that you can hold in hospitality. And we used to have DJs and parties at night, and we needed some content. So we'd hire photographers, and I had a Rolodex full of photographers, and eventually just started getting other bars and nightclubs to ask me, hey, do you guys have somebody you could spare? So I just created basically a portfolio and would take a cut and schedule these photographers at these other venues. So that was my first stab at it, or swing at the plate. And didn't last super long. It was more of this side hobby, and there wasn't a lot of money to be had. But throughout my years at the bar, once the one I was working at closed, I ended up teaming up with my co-founder. His name is Bo Schmidt. We went to the same college together, University of San Diego, and we actually opened up our own bar and grill that we owned and operated for about 3 years, right outside of downtown San Diego.
What kind of theme or cuisine was it?
It was like American New. You had a gourmet twist on really good cheeseburgers, fries, wings, stuff like that. And it was right in the beginning of the craft beer boom in San Diego, which was 2015, 16. And we had a bunch of deep connections with, I think there was about 180 breweries at the time, like microbreweries in San Diego. And we had connections with them, and they would give us their specialty kegs that we threw on tap. We had about 30 taps, and it was all craft beer focused. We didn't have any macros on there. So, no Bud Lights, no Miller Lights, anything like that. And we were also a sports bar. Bo is from Seattle. So we picked a team and had it be like a destination spot for all the Seahawks fans that are in San Diego. And it definitely popped off for games.
Yeah, there's that Bears bar in like Pacific Beach that I would go to a couple times. Unfortunately, the Bears are awful, but luckily there's a lot of alcohol at that bar, so it made things a little bit better. But you started that with him before you guys started Sunday Scaries.
Yeah, pretty unique situation. We were at the place is called the Brew Project in San Diego. We did that for about 3 years, and it was a freaking roller coaster ride. We definitely got punched in the face a lot. I think overall with that business, what I learned is that the profit margins are extremely slim to begin with, and then when things go wrong, they get even slimmer. And when I say when things go wrong, it can be, a wide array of things, but think about your walk-in cooler breaking and you need to buy a new compressor, or something goes down on your kitchen line, or like what happened to us during the Super Bowl. We had our bathrooms flood and the floor drains literally had
What?
sewage come up and float out of the bathroom and into the front area. And we were, taking these squeegees, big size squeegees, commercial squeegees, and trying to push it out of the building without anybody notice. Um, but without kind of some of the, more descriptive scenarios, we just realized that we were shackled to our own business. There's a pretty good book on this by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth, where you basically think that you're going to gain autonomy through entrepreneurship, and instead you end up being a slave to your own creation. So we were technicians, is what the book talks about, where if we didn't have a host show up, I was hosting. If we didn't have a bartender show up, Bo was bartending. And then we had to work in the business and on the business, meaning we were there for double-digit hours, 6 days a week, and it was taxing. It was taxing for sure.
Yeah, I can't even imagine all the different things you have to juggle and the various stakeholders. And obviously, you didn't exactly choose the easiest next product to get into with CBD and all the rules and regulations around that. But I imagine that there's not as much headache in that business. Different headaches for sure, but maybe not as aggressive in terms of all the trials and tribulations that you had to go to with dealing with like the service industry and on premise and all the physical stuff that can go wrong. But now you get to deal with the lovely aspect of product manufacturing and dealing with vendors and suppliers and stuff like that. So what has that transition been like for you? And what are the pros and cons to this whole entrepreneurship thing for all the people that are listening and thinking about jumping into the deep end because they also don't like authority, or maybe they're just they've got an itch that they want to scratch?
Totally, yeah. So towards the end of the our entire life at the bar, we were so stressed out that one of our buddies came in and he was sitting at a table and we didn't even notice him for a full hour and a half because we were running around with like chickens with our heads cut off. And eventually he grabbed us and he's like, "Hey guys, you guys need a break. He looks super burnt out, so I'm going to take you golfing." Um, and he did that, and we went out, and he pulls out this little vial from his bag, and he has CBD oil on him. And at that time, that was 2017, where it was just such a nascent industry. And I remember even my stoner friends didn't even know what CBD was. My mom thought, my door was going to get kicked in by the FBI, the DEA. And now obviously it's everywhere. Went from 30 companies to 3,000 almost overnight. But what we basically did was sculpt this new business model around the stuff we hated at the bar. So the stuff we hated at the bar was that we always had to be present 24/7, because if
Yep.
not, employees would steal from you, or you wouldn't be able to have a good outlook on how many people were there and when you can cut certain staff members to save on labor costs. The list goes on. And then also you're only marketing to customers that are in basically 1 to 3 mile radius of your actual location, versus doing something like e-commerce where you can run ads, or advertise in other ways and market to people in the entire United States and beyond. We basically took all the problems that we faced and stuff that we disliked, and we picked a business model that better suited what we wanted personally.
Got it. No, that makes sense. Um, what are some of the things that you've been able to take from your restaurant or bar experience though, and translate that into um, running and operating an e-com business?
Number one thing that hits my head, and that we always think about, is customer service. Because in hospitality, you have this mentality that the customer is always right, no matter what. And you could do a lot of things, running a bar and a restaurant. Now, obviously, it's got to be really good food. It's got to have a good ambiance, good lighting, good
Yeah.
music levels. But more than anything, it's the way people feel when they go there, the experience that they have, and that last touch when they leave. Danny Meyer talks about this a lot. He's a restaurateur, has a really cool book, but he's the owner founder of Shake Shack and a couple of other spots in New York. He's based in New York. And we kind of translated that into customer service. And when we do deep dives into other people's or other business owners, gorgeous accounts or something like that, and just see the macros and read them or look at the interactions, or as customers deal with that ourselves, we can just easily see the flaws of where these certain brands are dropping the ball and corresponding with their customers.
And that has to pay off in spades when it comes to customer retention and turning your customers into referrers and brand advocates. Because even still, I mean, despite all the hype and promotion that having a quality customer service experience has gotten over the last year and a half from businesses like a Gorgeous as an example, I still will shop from some brands and it's pretty much non-existent. I mean, the response time is horrible. The automated abilities to self-service are non-existent, and it's really it's shocking to me. But that's definitely a big area that we see brands that are successful are able to separate themselves from the pack, is in that customer experience aspect.
Yeah, we use Okendo, which, by the way, thank you for the recommendation for that tool because it's been light years better than the one we had previously. But
Mm-hmm.
going through those reviews, most of them are 5 stars, which is great. But the ones that aren't, and then obviously the negative customer tickets that we have within Gorgeous, we don't look at those and read them and think like, what the fuck, or shit, what's burning, what fire is burning that we need to put out immediately, and we don't let it darken our day. We look at it like they're opportunities. Like, okay, how can we turn this person who's pissed off at us or something that we did or something with regards to our product and service, and then turn them around into super fans. And that's the methodology that we have, is like, if somebody has a negative experience with us, that's an opportunity to turn them into somebody that loves us. And that's what we do with our correspondence.
Yeah, I think there was some study somewhere that showed if your customers have a bad experience, but then you are able to rectify it or do good by them in an outsized way, then they're more likely to tell other people about your company and then also to repurchase the product than those who had a good experience right from the get-go. Not that you should go around just giving a really shitty first-time experience to everybody, but there's actually a huge opportunity with those that unfortunately do not have a great experience to turn them into really vocal advocates for the company if you're willing to do the work to make it right for them.
Totally agree. And with that, I think comes personalization. We definitely try to streamline things, especially with all the available tools on the market now. So you do want your macros, you do want your automated responses, because a lot of the tickets that you're going to get are repetitive, right? Like Wismo, where is my order, is usually top 3 in any e-commerce brand. But what we try to do is take a spin on that and personalize them, especially if it's somebody that is being vulnerable and telling us what they're feeling. Because when it boils down, we're a company that's battling stress and anxiety. So our customers, they talk about dark days. Like, a lot of them go through dark days, and a lot of them open up about that. And if we just send them some generic response with no personalization, you miss out on an opportunity to really reach that person and let them know, hey, don't worry, you're not alone. Like, we got you on this journey we call life. So
Yeah, I think that's where AI is going to potentially be a big help, is in actually enabling brands to do one-to-one personalization, but at scale. It's like, obviously you can't sit there and talk to every single individual customer about everything, but if you're able to leverage all the data that you're collecting from platforms like Okendo and whatnot, and then have a product that's able to craft in a thoughtful way, responses, and actually engage and articulate in a way that is human, that'll really open up the door for true one-to-one personalization. Because so many people like to talk about like, oh yeah, we have one-to-one personalization. Like, no, you don't. Like, you can create manual segments and bucket people into things, but you're not truly getting one-to-one without the help of some sort of AI.
totally. Yeah, we leverage, obviously, ChatGPT and a couple of other tools. And I can't wait. I think it's probably going to happen. It's already happening now, but I think it's just going to be more mainstream in about 6 months to a year where you can just really upload everything about your brand. Your website, your URL, your brand deck, your brand voice, brand tone, and compile all the information into one data set, input it into AI, and then have your customer service team or your sales team just ask it questions, and it'll be able to tell you the exact answer, and then also incorporate all the other information from the language model to give you the best possible answer with regards to your specific brand, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. What are some of the other ways that you're leveraging AI from a brand perspective?
Yeah, ChatGPT and Bard is probably the two that are always open on my desktop every single day when I work. But we've used originality.ai to check content that we have writers write for us on the originality, because obviously they can now be using AI just to quickly draft stuff up for you and send it to you. So those tools work out pretty well. Huge fan of ClickUp. I actually know the guys over there that run it, and they incorporated an AI component into their task manager, which is really cool. And I'm trying to think. I think I'm missing a big one. A lot of stuff that's SEO oriented. So Surfer SEO, where you can actually check the structure of your articles with H1s and H2s before you actually upload them into Shopify. We're actually working right now on figuring out some HTML issues within Shopify on copying and pasting it and just having that structure remain the same versus writing it directly into Shopify. And I think I'm probably missing a couple more. I know Loom or V.io is another one I use every day. V.io is it's a tool for content creation for editing videos. So it automatically adds subtitles. It's a really, really easy editing tool that's super user friendly. You just drag and drop media files and add sounds from Artlist.io, and you can create content in a matter of an hour that looks professionally done. So
That's what I'm excited about with AI, as well as the ability to allow people to get really creative when it comes to content generation or things that maybe historically they were boxed out of because they didn't know how to do all the fancy things in like Premiere Pro or Photoshop or whatever it may be. And now a lot of these AI solutions are very user friendly and allow even people like me to pick some stuff up and create something that's at least halfway decent.
Totally, yeah. It adds another tool to your tool belt. We have an amazing graphic designer that does a lot of our stuff, but he's building our emails. He does all of our marketing materials. Anything that we change on our site, if it's a new PDP, he's designing that on Figma. And sometimes if I just want to edit something quickly or just make a video on my own on my phone and chop it up, edit it, and have it be ready for a Facebook ad, I can now do that. Versus before, it's like it's a whole new instrument that you have to learn how to play that's going to distract you from other areas of the business that you need to run as a CEO. It's a lot easier now.
How do you handle delegation? Because you obviously have a bunch of different competing priorities at any given moment. How do you choose what to delegate and what you continue to do yourself?
Yeah, I think first off, just to know, my co-founder Bo and I definitely wear a lot of hats, probably more than we should be wearing right now. But we did lean out our model at the beginning of the year. We were at about 14 employees in 2020, and COVID rocked that, obviously, like it did for a ton of other companies. And we ended up finding out, again, like other companies, that we didn't need an office. So we eventually went fully remote and realized along that trail that what we were concentrating on a day-to-day business was culture, accountability, bureaucratic, who said what in the business, and it was distracting us from marketing the product and building our brand, which is what we want to do. It's what we enjoy the most doing, and it's what is going to move the needle for us as well. So I think when it comes to delegation, we leverage a ton of VAs. We do 1099 workers because their companies will be the ones that take on all that accountability stuff,
Yeah.
and all that culture stuff. Um, and you know, we're fun to work with, but that doesn't absorb our Monday meetings anymore, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that works out really well. And then with regards to what we delegate, the way I always look at it is when I sit down on my computer, what are the different projects that I gravitate towards, and which ones do I enjoy the most? And usually those are the ones that you're the best at or that you want to take the time in to be the best at. And then the rest you delegate. That's my first point. And then my second point is I think it's situational depending on where you are, um, in your business life cycle. But the way we look at it currently, today for Sunday Scaries is that if it's not a revenue driving activity, we usually delegate it.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fair. I feel like that's a good rule of thumb, at least in terms of trying to figure out, because you can't do absolutely everything. What are the things that need to get done but aren't, necessarily driving the business forward in a revenue impactful way?
totally.
Um, going into your product specifically, what is it like having to work around all the various rules and restrictions when it comes to advertising for CBD? And how do you work around them? Because I remember maybe 2 years ago when CBD started to get hot, there was a bunch of like agencies that popped up that claimed to be like CBD marketing agencies and had these workarounds or loopholes or whatever to be able to actually target customers. What has your experience been like, and what are some of the creative things that you're doing to handle the customer acquisition for that type of a product category?
It's to put it lightly, it's been a living hell for sure. I don't know why we ended up choosing a prohibited product. You know, I think at the time we were looking at it, they were supposed to classify CBD as a dietary supplement in 2019. So the way we looked at it at the time was, hey, let's hop on this now, right? Let's be one of the first brands to market, and then by the time the FDA regulates it, we're going to be sitting high, and we're going to ride this huge wave home. The problem is we relied on a government agency to make a move and regulate a supplement, which is also actually classified as a pharmaceutical drug, which adds some complexity to it. And basically, the FDA and Congress have been dragging their feet since 2019 and before that, but they said they were going to do it in 2019. And because they're dragging their feet on the classification, you have all of these marketing platforms, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, Google, which obviously means YouTube, does not allow us to advertise our products. Now, it wasn't always like that. So in 2018, we were scaling pretty rapidly on Facebook. We had this one ad that had 6 million views, a ton of engagement, and all of a sudden overnight it gets shut down. So as you can imagine, it'd be super stressful, having that revenue stream come in, and obviously there's brand awareness on top of that, just gets shut off, and the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. And not only does your ad get flagged, but after a number of times, then your business manager gets banned, or your personal Facebook profile gets banned. So between us and the members on this podcast, we use our family members' Facebook ad accounts in order to continue to advertise. But it's a cat and mouse game, and honestly, it's kind of a black box, like we've talked about before, Brandon, with regards to what you can and can't do on Facebook, and what ads will get passed through, and other ones that compliance will hit over the head with a hammer. And given that Facebook relies so much on their AI, you can't tell which content's going to be good and which one's not going to be in their eyes. So
Yeah, I swear. I mean, you could literally post the exact same thing, but you just do it at a different time or day or whatever, and one of them will get flagged and your account will get shut down, and the other one will perform very well and get broadcasted to millions of people. And you're like, what the hell? Like, there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of it. And even if you follow everything to a T, you can still get shut down. I mean, we've even had clients who, they start spending money too quickly, or they like, there's so many different things that can trigger their system to just lock everything down. And then trying to like talk to them or get in contact with them. I mean, good luck. You want to talk about customer service? Um, I think they should hire you as a consultant at Facebook or Meta for how to improve their customer service department, because it's just awful.
It's really funny when I remember when we first started advertising on Facebook, I met a couple of people that worked at Facebook and they were like, hoorah, like, yeah, I work at Facebook. It was a big thing for them to say. They were super proud of it. And now when I meet somebody from Facebook, they're hesitant to say that they work at Facebook. I think for a couple of reasons, but one of the big ones is that like people are like, oh shit, like, can you please help me out? Like, I'm trying to get my Instagram account on
Yes.
shadow banned, and like everybody's asking them for any sort of help, even if they're not even in the right department whatsoever, because they're just so hard to get a hold of because they're such a big monster. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I've been locked out of my Facebook account for over a year now because I traded in my phone and it had the 2FA thing on it, and so I'll probably never get that back,
Yep,
ever.
I hear you, man. But yeah,
But
just to dial it or rewind a little bit with the stuff that we concentrate on, we try to veer away from ingredient-based marketing. So instead of just constantly saying CBD, CBD, CBD in ads, and then pushing it to product pages where CBD gummies is in huge letters, it's
yeah,
more leveraging on the pain points of the customers. Luckily, our brand name is pretty recognizable. I mean, it's on Urban Dictionary, so people understand what it is right away. And we let a lot of our photography and video assets carry the conversation that the ad is having with the user about what it's meant for and why they should get it versus like, hey, this has this ingredient in it. And that's been pretty helpful for us.
have you thought about a product line that doesn't have CBD in it?
Yes, we have. We actually took the opposite direction recently and launched a THC gummy because we
Just
surveyed
double
out all,
double down.
double down, man. We surveyed out all of our customers on what they wanted to see next, and that was the top response by far. Um, so we wanted to dip our toes into that market, and it's the same legality because it's still under the 0.3% threshold by dry weight, and it's derived from hemp. So we're allowed to ship across state lines. It's not the Schedule One narcotic that's marijuana. It's hemp under the threshold. So it didn't really change a lot of things on our site, but instead of spinning up a bunch of different products that don't have CBD, what we've done in the past is we have a sleep oil that works really, really well. It's one of our best products and the ones that we stand behind the most as well as our customers. But it's called Big Spoon because it'll make you sleep like the little spoon again. And it's got CBN and CBD in it, but a ton of other ingredients like GABA and 5-HTP, and we just concentrate on advertising with those ingredients that are forthright versus the other stuff on the landing page like CBD that's going to get the ad banned.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Um, I love that tagline. I appreciate the quirky marketing tactics and slogans. I think that stuff goes a long way and definitely matters. Um, but the THC thing is interesting. But I think it's cool that that sort of lends itself to in your new product development, you're leveraging technology to get feedback and to get into the minds of your customers before you actually go out and create new product offerings. Um, and that also lends itself to a better customer experience.
yeah, they love it. We get a ton of responses too, and it just makes them feel like they're part of the decision. Which obviously, if it's the thing that they voted on, once we roll it out, they're going to want to give it a shot and sign up for a pre-order or just order right when we launch. And it engages them and pulls them in closer to being that super fan, the member of the Scary Squad that really wants to see us succeed and feels like they're a part of the ride, and not just somebody that's swiping their card once a month. So,
How do you, as it relates to the sort of the rollout of these new products, what is that like from a working capital standpoint? Because like a lot of the people listening to this, they have their own brands and they have to deal with inventory and the costs of, holding that inventory, but also, getting that inventory developed and then storing it in a warehouse and whatnot. So how do you balance that? And like what sort of, are you leveraging loans to facilitate the actual like product development, or how do you handle that? Because some of our clients, they'll have like $15 million of inventory, and then they have to take bank loans against it as the inventory gets depleted. In other cases, they're doing smaller like batch test runs, and then they go out of stock too quickly, which also isn't a good thing. So I think part of it's cash flow management, but the other part is just forecasting actual customer demand.
yeah, we've made the mistake on both ends. So, we've launched a product and it's just done extremely well, and then all of a sudden, we're out of stock on the product page in under a month, and we're like, okay, we totally screwed that up because behind that product launch is a ton of PR outreach. Obviously, you're running ads, you're doing email marketing campaigns, and you're getting steam behind it, and then to go out of stock right away is obviously not a good look. And then on the other end, we had a product. We have a product called FOMO Bones, but before we got our ordering system down in 2018, 2019, we decided that we wanted to order, I think it was like 50,000 pouches right out the gate before we even proved it, because obviously when you're ordering from vendors, the more pouches that you get, the more product that you get, everything goes down in cost, right? Because of the volume buys that you get, the bulk discounts.
Yeah.
And we ended up sitting on so much product that Bo had to keep all the boxes in his apartment until his girlfriend damn near lost it. His wife now, but she damn near lost it at the time. And it's like, you got to get this shit out of here. But I think when it comes to supply chain, a lot of the things that have helped us in the past, and we've gotten really scrappy. I mean, leveraging credit cards and stuff like that. But working out terms with your vendor is huge, because if you can kind of push back, past net 30, up to net 90, you can let those rebills hit from your subscriptions. Obviously, e-commerce, you're getting that money right away versus if you're doing wholesale with different accounts, which totally changes the game with brick and mortar, because then you're subject to them paying you on their terms, and sometimes they don't. It can run into you can run into a dead end there. But with us, we're 99% e-commerce, and so we a lot of the negotiation comes down with the vendors and our manufacturers, and us just being like, hey, if you help us by letting us hold on to this cash for 45 to 90 more days, we can then advertise more, which will boost sales, which will in effect result in us ordering more product from you. So finding the right partner, I think, is huge.
And building that trust and sort of rapport with them so that they're able to be supportive and not a detriment to the growth of the business.
Totally.
So one last question I have for you, going into next year, what's one trend or one thing in e-commerce that you're really excited for, that you're hoping to leverage with your brand?
I got two answers for you. The first one's the more boring one, and I would say that it's maintaining profitability. From inception of the company in 2017 up until last year, we had this scale at all costs mentality. We had our entrepreneur era sprouted during this time where blitz scaling was so huge in these tech companies, and we kind of took that model and applied it to CPG, and we wound up in some pretty scary cash positions along the way, and just made a ton of mistakes. Just weren't as tight with the books as we should have been. And now we're super tight, and we'll take the risks and roll the dice when the good bets come. But I think what we're starting to see, and not just industry specific to CBD, is that potential acquirers and just VCs and people looking to invest in general are looking at profitability more than they are on top line growth. So that's just been a company focus, and I'm just really excited and just personally my me waking up every day and going to bed at night, it's a lot easier knowing that we're profitable and that we have our cash flow doc in order. But I think other than that, with regards to us specifically, is brand partnerships. We have a couple of big celebrity brand partnerships in the works, and we're trying to get creative on acquiring customers beyond using the platforms that we're restricted on that I talked about earlier, and try to make a noise elsewhere, and that's through brand celebrity partnerships.
That makes sense. Even the brands I talk to that aren't in regulated categories, they're all trying to figure out alternative ways to acquire customers as well, because the costs just keep rising and rising. And I mean, you even see direct mail making a comeback. You see all these other channels that are starting to poke their head out, either again or completely net new, because the tried and true, let's go spend $1 million on Facebook every month back in 2014, 2015 is not really the reality anymore.
Yep, I hear that. Yeah, it's getting creative for sure.
The shift in the market to profitable businesses, I think it won't lead to as many like crazy, just wild scale and growth stories, but I think it'll lead to better long-term and sustainable businesses, because you can't cover up, truly detrimental flaws. And you've seen some massive blowups in e-commerce and also other verticals where, a company got $100+ million and they were able to hide a lot of the internal inefficiencies and just objective issues with the business until it was too late. And then, shit just totally hit the fan and blew up. And you're just like, you're like a hamster on a wheel. You're just constantly running, and you're not sure. You can say you're in control of your own destiny, but at the same time, if the money runs out, I mean, you're screwed. It doesn't really matter how cool, how great the business is or what the opportunity is.
Yeah, I think being lean and mean, frugal, and really questioning every single purchase that you see in QuickBooks, it also ends up galvanizing creativity, because if you're not saying yes to a ton of different things, you're more focused and dialed in on the bets that you're going to take. And a lot of times, like we just discussed, you can't just throw $1 million at Facebook and be like, hey, give me the ROAS that we need. Now it's like we got to really figure out where the best eyeballs are and where our money's going to go the farthest. So we reap the benefits of that, just really drilling down, and instead of having this shotgun approach where we're trying podcasts, billboards, influencer at the same time, it's instead picking one and really focusing in, dialing it in, and reaping the fruits afterwards. So
yeah, do one thing really well versus doing a whole bunch of things very mediocre. I think that's definitely the way to go in most aspects of business. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. Before we hop off, can you let everybody know where they can find you and Sunday Scaries?
Yep, sundayscaries.com, and then Instagram's probably the best social media profile to follow. So it's just like it sounds, Sunday like the day, and then Scaries is Scaries.
Did you get that domain like easily?
Yeah, I mean, we bought it back in 2017. I think it cost us like $2,000.
That's not bad.
Not bad. And then we had to make a couple moves for the Instagram one, but we got that too. So
it's crazy, the like secondary market for handles from Instagram and these other things.
I don't think it's as important anymore, especially with just how dialed in the results pages on Instagram. But the biggest thing for us is the trademarks. We have the trademarks for it, so that means more than the URL and the Instagram handle. So
yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. For everybody listening, as always, it's Brandon Amoroso. You can find me at brandonamoroso.com or electricmarketing.com. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.